there. Buckle up, because today we're diving into V2X.
V2X.
Which stands for Vehicle to Everything.
That's right.
Imagine a future where your car is no longer just a hunk of metal, but part of a giant interconnected network on wheels.
Yeah, like a giant network.
We're going to explore how this technology works.
How it works.
Why some people are calling it a game changer, and what's slowing it down from, well, taking over the world.
Lots to unpack.
To help us navigate this, we have an expert joining us today. So maybe start us off by explaining what exactly WE mean when we say vehicle to everything. What's going on under the hood, so to speak?
Yeah, so it's a bit like how your phone connects to Bluetooth.
Okay.
Or Wi-Fi. But in this case, cars are using a combination of things. Sensors, cameras.
Yeah.
And dedicated short-range communication, or DSRC, to talk to, well, everything.
DSRC, that's a new one, so it's not just relying on my car having good cell service.
Exactly.
Okay.
Think of DSRC as a dedicated lane of communication.
Yeah.
Just for cars.
Yeah.
A bit like how a bike lane is separate from regular traffic.
Right.
This allows for faster, more reliable information sharing.
Yeah.
Even in areas with poor cell reception.
Okay. That's really interesting. So it's not relying on a cell network, but what kinds of things are these cars actually talking about?
Well, imagine you're driving down the road.
Okay.
And your car can communicate with the car in front of you.
Right.
The traffic lights ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Even pedestrians crossing the street.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of V2X. It encompasses a lot. Vehicle to vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Or V2V. Vehicle to infrastructure. V2I. Vehicle to pedestrian. V2P. And even vehicle to network communication. V2N.
Wow. A whole lot of V2 action going on. So if I'm understanding this right, my car could essentially warn me about a stalled car around a blind corner because it's getting that info directly from the car ahead. That's wild.
Exactly. And it's not just about avoiding accidents. Let's say you're approaching a red light with V2I. Your car could receive a signal telling you how long until that light turns green again, or even suggest a slight adjustment to your speed to make the next light. This can help improve traffic flow and reduce those frustrating stop-and-go situations.
Okay. See, now you're talking my language. Anything that shortens my rush hour commute is a win in my book. But I have to admit, the idea of my car constantly transmitting and receiving data raises some eyebrows. What about the security risks involved with all of this?
Yeah, that's a really important question. Anytime you have a network, especially one involving cars, security is
paramount. Building a high-tech car, you want all the cool features, but you also need to make sure it has like a top-notch security system to prevent theft.
So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about like hackers taking over my car and driving me into a ditch?
That's a bit of an extreme scenario, though not entirely outside the realm of possibility. The more immediate concern is the potential for, malicious actors to disrupt traffic flow, steal personal data, or even cause accidents by feeding false information to vehicles.
Okay, that's a little unsettling, but I'm guessing they've thought of that right. Absolutely. Researchers and engineers are working hard to build in layers of protection, much like how banks secure your financial transactions online. This includes things like, rigorous testing, encryption to scramble the data being transmitted, and authentication protocols to verify that the information is coming from a trusted source.
Okay, so it's not like they're just throwing this technology out there without considering the risks. That's reassuring. But shifting gears a bit, let's talk about the potential benefits. I mean, we've touched on safety and efficiency, but how big of an impact are we really talking about here?
The potential is huge. Think about it. The average American spends over 17 hours a year stuck in traffic. That's a lot of wasted time, fuel, and productivity.
Tell me about it. My commute sometimes feels like a part-time job.
Right. With V2X, we could see a significant reduction in traffic congestion, which not only saves time and money, but also reduces greenhouse gas emissions. And then there's safety. Nearly 43,000 people died in car crashes in the U.S. alone last year. V2X has the potential to prevent a significant portion of these accidents by giving cars an almost superhuman awareness of their surroundings.
Those numbers are pretty eye-opening. It makes you wonder why this technology isn't everywhere already.
Well, there are still some hurdles to overcome. One of the biggest is standardization. Right now, different car manufacturers are developing their own V2X systems, and they don't always talk to each other seamlessly. It's a bit like everyone owning a cell phone, but some phones can only call other phones from the same company.
Yeah, that wouldn't be very efficient. So how do we get everyone on the same page?
It requires collaboration, not just between automakers, but also with government agencies and technology companies. We need to agree on common standards and protocols. to ensure that all V2X-equipped vehicles can communicate effectively.
So it's not just a technological challenge, it's a logistical one, too. What about the infrastructure required to support V2X? I mean, do we need to rip up all our roads and start from scratch? Ripping up all the roads, that's a dramatic image. But it highlights the scale of what we're talking about. So what kind of changes are needed outside of just putting fancy tech in the cars themselves?
Yeah, you're right. It's not just about the cars. Think of it like this. Electricity revolutionized our homes, right? Mm. But it only worked because we built power plants and a whole grid to deliver it.
Right.
V2X needs its own grid of sorts.
Okay, so paint me a picture. What does that look like?
Well, we're talking about equipping traffic signals with the technology to communicate with vehicles, installing sensors along roadways to monitor traffic flow and road conditions, and ensuring robust network coverage in both urban and rural areas.
So pretty big undertaking. It makes you wonder, are there any cities or countries already taking the plunge with this technology, or are we just talking about some futuristic dream here?
It's happening already. Several countries, including the United States, China, and Japan, have launched pilot programs to test and evaluate V2X technology in real-world settings.
Okay.
For instance, in the U.S., Department of Transportation has been testing V2X technology in several cities, with the goal of eventually incorporating it into the national highway system.
So it feels like we're still in the early stages, but things are moving in the right direction. But from a bigger picture perspective, what excites you most about the potential of V2X?
For me, it's the potential to fundamentally change the way we think about transportation. Right now, cars are largely isolated units. But V2X turns them into nodes in a connected ecosystem.
Right.
This has the potential to not only make our roads safer and more efficient, but also to pave the way for innovations we haven't even imagined yet.
It's like we're on the cusp of a transportation revolution. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts for our listeners on what this all means for them?
I think the key takeaway is that the future of driving is connected. It might be a few years before we see widespread adoption of V2X technology, but the wheels are in motion. As with any emerging technology, there will be challenges to overcome, but the potential benefits are too significant to ignore.
It's a future worth watching and maybe even getting excited about. Who knows? Maybe that frustrating commute will be a thing of the past. That's our deep dive on V2X. Thanks for joining us as we explored this fascinating technology that's poised to change the way we drive, and maybe even the world as we know it. Until next time, keep those wheels turning.